So Razer just released a brand new product called the Razer Blade Stealth 13. This is the 2019 model, and it is pretty much a different type of product from every Ultrabook that's currently on the market. Usually when you buy an Ultrabook, you're buying something that doesn't have a discrete GPU, and if it does, it's usually the MX150. The MX150 is a nice little performance boost, but it's nothing special compared to something like the GTX 1050. So what do? Well, you can't stick a GTX 1050 in a 13-inch laptop, it will overheat. So what you do instead is take the MX150, put it on steroids, and increase the performance by 30%. That's exactly what Razer has done this year. Now, is it enough to satisfy you? Well, that's what we're gonna get from this review. Now, first and foremost, the design is absolutely gorgeous. It's about 3 pounds, making it extremely light to carry. In fact, you can see the size compared to the bigger Razer Blade 15 right here. It has amazing battery life using the brand new Whiskey processors. You're able to take this for like 8 to 10 hours throughout the day without having to charge. In terms of ports, you're getting one USB Type A port, your audio jack, and one USB Type C. This is Thunderbolt 3. The left-hand side is more for power share, and the other side is where you'd hook up an actual eGPU if you want a game with a more powerful graphics processor. And you also have an additional USB Type A. Now, in terms of ports, it has more than enough, but I would have loved to see an SD card slot. Now, if you're trying to get inside of here, there's not much you can upgrade. You're pretty much just upgrading the M2 NVMe drive. It has great read and write speeds. You can swap it out down the road if you really want to, but for this type of style of laptop, I think it's more than adequate. Now, if you do buy this, make sure you get the one you want because the RAM is soldered onto the motherboard. Now, to display, you can get it in 2 models, the Full HD version or the 4K model. I have the 4K model here and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Do you actually need a 4K display on a 13-inch laptop? Most likely not. You're not really gonna push those pixels considering its screen size, but the cool thing that Razer didn't really talk about, this display is actually HDR. So if you're watching or streaming HDR content, you're gonna be able to do that on this laptop. The only downfall to that is it doesn't support HDR gaming. Now, when it comes to the bezels, they're quite thin. They're not Dell XPS 13 thin, but they're thin enough that you can still fit a webcam on top of it. It looks like this, nothing to write home about. But what you can write home about is the fact that there is Windows Hello facial recognition. Sound coming out of 2 speakers on the deck of the laptop, so the sound is hitting directly in your face. It sounds much better than most Ultrabooks. It's not the best, but it sounds better than bottom firing speakers. They get loud enough to be enjoyable to listen to and loud enough to drown any fan noise if you have this laptop on full throttle. Keyboard. This is one area I have a love and hate relationship with. I like the travel distance, even though it's quite shallow, it still feels very comfortable to type on. What I don't like though is the placement of the right shift key. Look, I did a survey and majority or 75% of people said they only use the left shift key, but 25% of you out there use the right one. And pressing this shift key is freaking annoying. I'd be typing perfectly and then all of a sudden I have to use the right shift key and I would have to make 10 mistakes before my finger landed perfectly on it. Trackpad, I actually like it quite a lot. They did a good job using Windows Precision drivers. It feels accurate to use, it's spacious, so getting around is not an issue. Now, when it comes to performance, that's where this laptop really sets itself apart from your traditional Ultrabook. You see, it's using the latest 8th gen Whiskey-like processors, it has that MX150, and instead of using 10 watts like most MX150, specifically like the one in the Huawei MateBook X Pro, it uses 25 watts. And what you get from that is significantly better performance. Now, it's not gonna be as fast as a GTX 1050, but it's still significant that you'll notice it on day-to-day use. So for example, if you're rendering a file, I was able to render a file significantly faster on this laptop compared to the MateBook X Pro with the regular 10 watt MX150. The other thing, gaming. You're not gonna see a huge difference in frames per second, but it's more than significant that you can play a lot of your favorite games comfortably. For example, I played a lot of Overwatch. I was able to do this perfectly on this laptop. I could run things at 1920 by 1080 with settings set to medium with frame rates between 70 to 90. You do this on the MX150, you have to significantly drop it down to 720p to get similar frame rates. You know what? A lot of people would say at this price point, you can buy a very powerful gaming laptop, and you're absolutely right, but you're changing the size of the form factor. And some people love to travel light, and when they travel light, they sometimes need the most power they can get. And if that's the case, for £3, this is one of the Ultrabooks you're gonna be looking at. Now, when it comes to heat management, it did a fantastic job, as I expected to. This is using a U series processor, so it never surpassed 80 degrees Celsius, and if it did, it'd go up to 83 or 85 and drop right back down to around 67. Noise, not too bad. I mean, it's your typical noise. On idle, it was good, and when it ramped up to a little bit higher, it didn't really sound loud enough to bother the environment. So here's the bottom line. The Razer Blade Stealth 13 2019 model is amazing Ultrabook. It's expensive and it's not for everybody, so I don't recommend everyone run out and buy it. I recommend it to the people who want to travel as light as possible, love the battery life you get with an Ultrabook, but need that little bit of extra performance to get their work done or to make changes while they're on the road. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think it's worth the price point? If not, what else would you get instead of this that has very similar performance? Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit me up on Instagram if you want some behind the scenes, and I'll see you guys in the next video.